Hey, what do you know? This is the Melvin Live show, and welcome everyone for tuning in. How's everyone doing today? Today, it's a very tiring day for me. Excuse me while I kind of adjust the light here. Yeah, so today it's a really tiring day for me. Why? Because my son is actually competing in his sailing regatta, and this is the third one for the year. And as a father, as a dad, I've always wanted him to pursue something with that single-minded focus. And I thought that he has to think about doing something that it's isn't academic, and so that's why I am really giving him the support that he needs. Now, in case you are if you are watching from any of the channel, please leave a comment, let me know, say hi. I would love to know that you are here with me, and that's definitely what we're going to be talking about now. There are a few things that I would want to share with you here today. And one of those things, before we get to that, let me just change this up. Right. So, um, today, really, what the main thing that I want to talk to you about is that, the idea of what is the live stream? What is your live stream all about? I mean, if someone were to, if you were to tell someone that, um, I do a live stream every day. So inevitably, people gonna ask you, like, so what exactly is your live stream all about, right? I mean, what do you talked about? What do you talked about in the live stream itself? And if that's gonna be the case, um, what are you gonna say, right? So think of this like an elevator pitch. In other words, if you go into, if you meet someone and you tell that person that I have a show that I stream live, or I live stream every day, right, or every week, for example, inevitably, invariably, if they're going to ask you one of two questions. One question, it's what the hell is a live stream, right? Now, you'd be surprised there are still people who may not be familiar with what exactly a live stream is. Um, and then the other question is, what is it about? right? What is it about? And I think this is where we have the opportunity to make an impression, but until and unless we are able to do that in a way that is succinct and deliver the message itself, I think it's not going to help you very much, right? So there are a few things that you would want to consider in terms of what would be your one phrase tagline for your live stream. And that's going to be crucial because that fundamentally it's going to make people say that, oh, that is interesting, I am going to subscribe to it, right? Or they would go like, oh, hey John, how that phrase tagline was something that I actually learned from the the book, right? And the book, it's called, let me bring up that book itself. So I learned about it from this book. Now this book is called Scaling Up: How a Few Companies Make It and Why the Rest Don't. Right? If you get a chance to check out the book, make sure you check out this book itself. Right? So scaling up: How a Few Companies Make It and Why the Rest Don't. So in the book, they talked about the seven strata of a one-page business plan. And one of the things that they talked about is that what is your company's one phrase strategy? In other words, is that it is that thing that communicates, not just your competitive edge, but also communicate who you're going to serve and how you're going to do it, right? So it's going to communicate your competitive edge. It's going to communicate who you're going to serve and how you're going to do it, right? And so, if you are interested, I can provide a link there. And if you have heard of this term called one phrase strategy, please leave a comment in the please leave a note in the comment below and say, yes, I've heard of this one phrase strategy, right? Because I think it's a really, really interesting concept itself. So from the one phrase strategy, I was then wanting to see how this could be aligned to live streaming. And of course, this is where I came up with the idea that we all need a one phrase tagline for our live stream. So, for example, my one phrase tagline for my live stream is one person, 1 million, all digital business, right? So, it's about the lessons that I learned in building a one person, 1 million, all digital business. Now, as I was going through this exercise myself, I was then able to rethink and refine that one phrase tagline. Because how I felt about it was that by telling people that these are the lessons that I learned from building a one person, 1 million all digital business, I'm not actually communicating much, right? Or I am not communicating why you should be paying attention to my live stream. And so, as I was going through this process itself, I went into the mode of rethinking, reflecting, and trying to see what is the better way to actually come up with the a one phrase tagline for my own live stream itself. So I'm going to walk you through this same process itself that I went through, and so, in the process of doing it, you will be able to come up with some form of a one phrase tagline for your live stream, right? So, this is going to be the same if you can use the same framework whether you are thinking about, whether it's a newsletter that you are crafting or it's a video that you are making, whatever the case may be, this can be applied, right? This can be applied. So, this one phrase tagline, essentially, it should communicate three things. One is that it should communicate your competitive advantage, right? It should communicate your competitive advantage, right? How you are different from everybody else, and what is it that you do differently from everybody else. So when you look at my one phrase tagline, which I will later on, I'll share with you my updated one. So when you look at my one phrase tagline, my one phrase tagline focuses on the one person, 1 million or digital business. Now, I am essentially looking at anyone who is a freelancer or a solopreneur or perhaps even a small business, right? These are the people who are the one person business. Now, you may dismiss and say that, well, this one person business, it's pretty limiting or it's pretty, um, you know, narrow a group. And I would agree. And that is deliberate because I'm looking at, a one person business. And the reason why people choose to be a one person business is because they have a certain appreciation for the idea of freedom, right? Because if you are going to be running a startup with 20, 30 people and you're going to have investor, I mean, you can have the freedom to work on your intellect, but when it comes to location, time freedom, and financial freedom, yeah, you may get your financial freedom, but you may not get your location freedom. You may not get your time freedom, right? And so I'm purely looking at people who are looking at more of a lifestyle kind of business, so that they can sustain the lifestyle, they can build something meaningful, sustain the lifestyle, and be happy with that, right? Um, and the other thing is that it has to be all digital because if I just stop at one person, 1 million, uh, a realtor, for example, would fall into that category or could potentially fall into the category. And I'm not talking about that group of people because those people do not have location freedom. They have to operate within a particular jurisdiction or a particular location itself, right? So a realtor can't just unplug himself and go somewhere else, or a realtor would not be able to, insofar as be able to transact without being there, right? And so that's why I am focused on the one person, 1 million or digital business. So one aspect, it has to talk about your competitive advantage, right? So the competitive advantage here is that I share everything I know about building this one person, 1 million or digital business. Now the other thing is that I your one phrase tagline must also communicate to whom you want to speak to, which again comes back to my one person, 1 million or digital business. And the third thing is that it must communicate how you do it, right? How you do it. And so this is where I kind of ran into a little bit of a concern for my initial uh, one phrase tagline, because it just talks about the lessons that I learned from building a one person, 1 million or digital business, but it doesn't quite dive deep into how I do it and who should be paying attention. And so as was going through this process itself, and I was also looking at some other examples, right, of other people's one phrase tagline, right, and and this is where it struck me that a good one phrase tagline would have three characteristics. So the number one characteristic is that it has to talk about what is your competitive advantage or what is your differentiating factor, right? What is your differentiating factor? Now, second thing about this one phrase tagline is that it has to be memorable, right? So when you think about the one phrase tagline of Bill Clinton's presidential um, election campaign, the one phrase tagline was "It's the economy is stupid," right? So that one phrase tagline caught on and described what is the central focus. Of course, there were three, but what was the central focus of Clinton's presidential campaign? And of course, he went on to win it, right? And so it has to be memorable, right? It has to be memorable. It has to be something that people could resonate with, people can identify with. So you want your one phrase tagline whereby, first it has to talk about a differentiating factor. Secondly, it has to be memorable. Um, and 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 th- and so by being memorable really is that it's not just a tagline, but it's something that connects with the audience, right? Connects with the audience. So going back to Bill Clinton's presidential election, one phrase tagline is the economy is stupid. At a point in time, the U.S. economy was just coming out of recession, was in a recession, and they would, the emphasis is about, how we could restart the economy, for example, right? And so that was something that was memorable. People could remember it, and it also connects with people because it resonates with them, right? And of course, you would remember something not just because it is, a jingle or something, a tagline that you remember, but if you are able to make it memorable and emotional, that would be absolutely ideal, right? So the second part here is that it has to be memorable. Now the third part is that your one phrase tagline for your live stream or whatever content you're creating, it has to have that ability to promote or to guide action, right? It has must have the ability to promote or guide action. Now this is where when I look at my own one phrase tagline, I found that part to be missing, right? Because I'm just conveying, say that it is lesson that I learned from building a 1P1 MAD, and when you read it, it's like, okay, what the heck is this? And secondly, it's like, how does that apply to me? So it's confusing, right? It's confusing. So the three components: competitive edge or differentiating factor. Secondly, it has to be memorable. Ideally, it has to be memorable as well as emotionally attached to the people that you want to reach. And thirdly, it must have the ability to promote action or guide action, right? So these are the three things. Now, the way to help you think about your differentiating factor here is that, the first thing you want to think of is what are the words you own? Now, what do I mean by that? So, in order for you to have that differentiating factor, the competitive edge, that differentiating factor, I'm going to use them interchangeably. I know technically speaking, they mean two different things, but here I'm just going to use them interchangeably. All right. So I'm just going to stick to differentiating factor because otherwise it will sound very clumsy. So is it competitive edge or is it differentiating factor? So the differentiating factor. Now, number one thing you want to do when it comes to the differentiating factor, it's what are the words you own, right? What are the words you own? So, for example, when you think about what are the words you own, you want to ask yourself these two questions. The very people that you want to reach, what do they think about, right? The very people that you want to reach, what is it that they think about? And secondly, it's, how do they use, what words do they use to search for solution to what they are thinking about, right? So the first part is words that, so words you own, right? What you want to do is you want to ask yourself, the people that I want to reach, what is it that they think about? And secondly, it's what is it that they and how do they use those words to what words do they use to search for solution to what they are thinking about, right? And so once you have that, you know that okay, if my group of people is that I want to reach out to um, small businesses, for example, right? So, like one of my clients, what she's looking at is that I want to talk to, small businesses that it's doing well but they recognize the need for a transformation. And so transformation is going to come in the form of an organizational change, right? So I want to speak to small businesses that have been doing well, but they recognize that they are in need of a transformation. And that transformation is going to come from a cultural organization, cultural angle. And so what do these people think about? They're thinking about transformation, right? They're thinking about how do I take my small business to the next level? How do I take my small business and make it international? How can I take my small business and make it into a household name? Or how can I make my small business become a force for good, right? So those will be what they are thinking about. And of course, you can list out all the things that they think about. But then the next thing you want to ask yourself is that what are the words that they use to search for solution to their problem, right? To what they are thinking about. So these people may be thinking about, well, I want to be able to transform my organization, but first I want to look internally, right? I want to look at my people. I want to look at how my people behave. What are the mindset of my people? And so they may not think of it as an organizational culture, a company culture, but they may think about, how do I change the mindset of my workers? How do I get my workers to embrace a growth mindset, for example? Those will be what they're thinking about and the words that they will use to search for solution to their problems, right? So that is critical because once you are able to identify the words you own and you are able to align in your tagline itself, you are able to communicate that, right? You're able to communicate that. For example, you would say that my um my live stream is about helping small businesses transform through organizational change, right? Or my live stream, it's about helping small businesses break through to the next level via organizational change. So that could be something that you could look at, right? So that could be something that you can look at definitely. Now, so that will be the first part, the words you own. And so, if you're watching right now and you have a question, make sure you leave that question in the comments. And if you're watching this on the replay itself, go ahead and still leave your question in the comments because I still read the questions after the replay. All right, so that is the first part, and that comes into your differentiating factor, right? Now, the second part, it's something that it's, your tagline, it has to be memorable and better yet, it's something that it's resonate with the people that you want to reach. So when we say memorable, of course, if you are able to make your tagline something that is catchy, all the better, right? Like, for example, we live to deliver, right? That is a tagline. Just do it. It's a tagline itself. Now, of course, companies like FedEx and Nike has spent an enormous amount of money in terms of advertising, in terms of marketing, in terms of mind share, right? And they are where they are because of what they have been doing, right? And that constant reminder, the constant messaging that goes all out. Now, let us not forget that you and I are not Nike or FedEx, and we may not have the prowess or the resources to be able to mount that kind of marketing campaign. And so let's not get carried away with just having a tagline that is memorable. But what you want to do is you want to take one step further and ask yourself, right? What is the main frustration of the people that you want to reach? So, as an example, when it comes to small businesses, what is the one key frustration that they have? Let's say, for my client, let's say working with consultants, right? So perhaps working with consultants is that they come out with, big theory and they kind of, push it upon you and force it down your throat and say that, well, this is the way that you should do it. It becomes so much like, a doctor prescribing medicine and insisting that you take that medicine so that you will feel better, right? And that's something that small businesses hate it because a they have probably the mindset that, well, this probably work for big organization, but for my small business, my small business is unique. And trust me, every small business owner think that their business is unique, right? They believe that their business is unique. Nothing wrong with that. Just like every parent would think that their child is unique, right? Everyone would think about that. So you need to recognize that and you need to be able to be empathetic towards that. So in the work that my client, do with her clients, now we're getting a bit meta, right? So the work that she does with her client, she understands that, they have worked with other consultants and the consultants come in and just shove things down their throat. Probably partly because the consultants are saying that, well, if it has worked for XYZ, it will work for you. And probably also because, the small businesses are not paying the consultants enough. And so they do not want to drag the project for too long because then it means that they are actually losing money on that particular project itself. And so, they want to get the project, do it, and get out as quickly as possible, right? So that may be the mindset, or that may be the operators, uh, the way that they operate for this consultants itself. So my client, she knows and she understands the frustration of this group of people, and so that's why in her tagline, the key word that she uses, it's co-create, right? Co-create. So not just talking about, we provide premium solution or we provide, bespoke solution, right? They talked about co-creating. Now, as a small business, co-creating will be something that perhaps you are you can identify with, because on the one hand you believe that, my business is unique, and so do not give me the cookie cutter concept or the cookie cutter, strategies for my small business, right? It has to be something that it's unique, right? And so, when they hear the term co-create, right, they then begin to understand or imagine in their mind that, hey, if I were to work with these people, they're not just going to come in and force things down my throat, but they are going to take my inputs, and together we're going to co-create a strategy, a action plan, that is going to be suited for my unique small business, right? And so it's not just about being memorable. Memorable is good, right? But if you are able to use a particular word that is able to immediately connect with the very people that you want to reach, then it will be all the more better. Okay. So that is second part. Now the third part is that when it comes to your tagline, um, the tagline has to promote or guide action, right? It has to promote or to guide action. And and for me, this is probably the most difficult part because this is where I find that the tagline itself has to communicate to the people that after they watch it or they consume that piece of content, there is something that they could do about it. So it's like, for example, when you watch any of these how-to videos, you kn- you know or you expect that at the end of the video itself, you would actually learn how to do certain thing, right? Hence a how-to video or a tutorial, for example. At the end of it, you would expect that you would be able to do something, right? So when I watch a video about, you know, uh, um, camera lightings, for example, right? How to choose the right lighting, how to choose the right light dome, right? For my video setup, how to choose the right light dome for my live stream setup. I know that at the end of that video itself, or I expect that at the end of that video, I would know how to choose what kind of light dome. And so this is the part that I think it's, for me at least, it's the most difficult part because in my original tagline, this part was entirely missing, right? It talks about lessons in building a 1% 1 million or digital business. It was still focused on me, right? Shame on me, right? It was still focused on me. Instead, it should be focusing on the audience. It should be focusing on the very people that you want to reach. And so, this is where you will need to insert some kind of an idea or an inference or a way for them to think about. Now, if I watch this, I will be able to do this, right? So going back to my clients um, example, right? So it's about transformation, right? Transformation, helping a company transform via organizational change, right? The other keyword is co-create, right? And the third one is how do we promote or guide action, right? So it could be, it could the final, one phrase tagline itself could be, practical advice that um, co-creating practical advice for businesses that transform businesses organizational culture, for example, right? Let's say that again. Practical advice for practical advice co-created to help small businesses transform via organizational change. So that would become, the raw material, the thing that you would start trimming, that will start wordsmithing and to fine tune it into a tagline itself, right? And so when I was thinking about my own tagline, immediately my one thing is that when it comes to that 1% 1 million all digital business, the main thing that these people want to me, right? And in my understanding and interview and speaking with people who wants to build a 1 person 1 million all digital business, right? What they want are actually actionable strategies. So it's like, I'm not going to put you through um, this whole video and just telling you that you need to have a tagline for your live stream, and this is what you need, right? Without telling you the how. So I want to bring in the how. I want to bring in the actionable strategies part, the how to do it, so that every video itself becomes a how to, right? And I'm working towards every single video, there must be one actionable strategy that you can implement if you are or want to build a 1 person 1 million all digital business, right? And of course, all these actionable strategies are not just theory, but they are strategies that I have implemented and I'm sharing, right? And so that is something that I'm looking at. Now, the other part that it's memorable, as I talk to people and when I hear it being said back to me that 1 person 1 million all digital business, it has kind of a ring to it, right? So it's memorable, and at the same time, it also communicates to that very group of people that says that, okay, that's me, right? That is me who wants to build this business. And I may not have clearly articulated it that way. I may call myself a freelancer, a six-figure freelancer or seven-figure freelancer itself. But that 1 person 1 million all digital business, it's something that people desire to have, right? That machine that people desire to have. And so it's not just memorable, but it's something that allows people to self identify and at the same time to be able to connect and resonate with it. Now, then the part about ability to promote and guide action, it's the part about actionable strategies, right? Actionable strategies. So the promise is that when you watch my live stream, what you are going to get away with is the following. You're going to learn about strategies for building a 1 person 1 million all digital business. On top of that, a strategy is just saying this is what I'm going to do, but a strategy doesn't talk about how I should do it. Now, one thing to note is that how it's being implemented, right, for company A, company B, company C may be different, right? Maybe different. But with a particular group of businesses, the 1 person 1 million all digital business, there are certain fundamentals, principle that remains the same. And so with those fundamental principles itself, these actionable strategies are the one that is going to help you. Okay, so my one phrase tagline for my live stream has been refined from lessons in building a 1 person 1 million all digital business to actionable strategies for the 1 person 1 million all digital business. No BS, right? Let me say that again. Actionable strategies for the 1 person 1 million all digital business. No BS. And why I need to exert the last part? Because there are people who talked about, I'm going to show you how it's going to be done, right? All you need to do is sign up for this 45 minutes webinar itself, and I'll show you everything I know. Yeah, right. They never show you everything they know, and they probably just tell you what you need to do without telling you how to do it. So my competitive edge, my differentiating factor is that I'm going to tell you everything, how you're going to do it. And perhaps I am even going to give you the worksheets, the exercises that is going to guide you into implementing this, right? So that it's that level of communication that I want to do. Now, why is there a need to add the no BS part? For two reasons. One, of course, like I mentioned, the other reason is that I want you to hold me accountable, right? So my promise, my brand promise is that actionable strategies. And so if one day I do come up and the live stream and I talked about what needs to be done, but I don't tell you how it's supposed to be done, I want you to hold me accountable and call me out and say that bullshit. You say you're going to give me actionable strategies, but you did not. And so that's the level of commitment, that is the level of intent that I'm putting into this live stream itself. Right? So as of now, I am still, evaluating if this is going to be still going to be a daily live stream, or if this is going to be, a 3 times a week, 2 times a week, 1 time a week thing. Um, I still do not know at this point in time, but what I do know is that the live stream, it's crucial and it's instrumental in my growth. And so this is something that I would really have to evaluate based on a cost benefit analysis. But what do you think? Um, should it be a daily thing or should it be a weekly thing? Um, or should I experiment with it? Well, you let me know. And so, if you found this video to be useful about helping you craft a one phrase tagline for your live stream, make sure you leave a comment, right? Make sure you leave a comment because that would be so, that would mean so much to me. Number one. Number two, is make sure you hit the like button, right? So wherever you are, hit the like button, hit the heart button, make sure you do that because by doing so, you help other people discover this content. And the third thing that you would want to do is, depending on where you are watching this from, make sure you subscribe, connect, or follow me, right? And I'm going to ask you just one thing, right? If you're watching this and you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do me a favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It will mean a lot to me, right? I've been watching my subscriber count go up over the last couple of weeks, and it has been absolutely encouraging. But it is just not fast enough. I want to hit that milestone of 1,000 subscriber by March. right? Right now I have 201. So if you can help me, head on down to my YouTube channel. How to get there? Well, just type in melvin.tv, right? MELVYN dot TV. Make sure you head down, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know. And I will give you a shout out here on the live show itself. Right. And so, with that, I thank you so much for watching. Um, Tomorrow is going to be day two, or the final day of the regatta for my son. And so I'm going to plan out what he's going to do next tomorrow, and you know, wish him luck. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.